Yep, you guys know what that sound means. It means it's time for a brand new edition of the Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the most interesting car of the day from all the auction sites. Hello, partner Michael Deeb. How are you, sir?
JP, dude, check it out, man. Our commercials are longer than our opening. Do you remember what, like back in the day when our opening was really long and our commercials were almost non-existent?
We didn't have commercials back then, I think. Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
plugged Guys Custom Bracelets, which I need to update the commercials and put a Guys Custom Bracelet commercial in there. Because if you haven't gotten your Guys Custom Bracelet, go to GYX underscore. It's Guys Customs, right? GYX underscore
Yep,
customs on Instagram. That's
yep,
the only place you can get these things. You order them directly
yep.
from the artist. She makes them, and they'll match paint the sample to your car, your watch, or whatever you want
Yep.
to do. They're awesome.
Ooh, yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Bitching. Absolutely bitching. Yep.
All right. We should probably shout out our good friends at Godden Classic, Godden Porsche of Las
Oh my God.
Vegas as well. They're rocking it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So check out, go talk to Godden Classic, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. And opening soon, they're going to be opening Godden of Henderson, which is in the works. They have been granted a second store, a second point in sort of, let's say, the southeast corner of Las Vegas. In that community down there, they'll have a new point where you'll be able to buy a new car or get your car serviced at Godden of Henderson. So talk to our friends at Godden Porsche and let them know the Bid Nerds sent you.
I think they might be calling it Porsche Henderson or Porsche of Henderson.
Porsche
I don't know if
Henderson.
it'll
Porsche
actually
of
have the
Henderson.
Godden word on it, but everyone
It's
will know
still the
it's a Godden.
same
It's a
family,
Godden.
yeah,
Yep, yep. Great
same
place.
family. So those are still our people.
All right. Well, that's why we don't have the big long opening, because we take so much time talking about our fantastic sponsors, and we love them. And we love you guys. We love you guys for subscribing and liking and spreading the word. The channel is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're getting there. This thing really feels like we're getting some momentum, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. We are so stoked to be here. This channel, if you are new, if you are like hearing about the buzz, you're like, what is it that these guys do? We dig through all the auction sites like Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Cars and Bids, Marked, all these different sites. We find the most interesting car, and then we have a conversation about it. Then we do what you do. We predict what we think is going to happen with that car's auction. But here's where it gets interesting. We marry our predictions, usually wrong, with the actual results at the end of the episode. So make sure you stick around to the end. We will show you just how wrong we were. And you can play along in the comments below. It makes it more fun. It's like The Price is Right. All right, Michael Deeb, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Today's car is pretty interesting. You picked an interesting one, no doubt. What do we got?
All right, so John, I am fascinated with the whole Safari movement, and it's not new, but it's definitely caught fire in the last, what do you say, 6 years, 10 years. It's been a big groundswell of Safari cars, and now that we see these cars sold nationally on the online auction platforms, these cars get a lot of attention. And so for me, the fascinating thing, because I don't know the cars very well, it's interesting to see what's on a particular car and then try to gauge the value from there. What we're looking at now is the 1985 Porsche 911 Carrera Coupe on Bring a Trailer that has been built in a Safari style. The car shows 175,000 miles and is offered out of, can you, JP, you're from Washington. Can you tell me the name of this town?
Sorry, I don't see it, so you're going to have to give
Is
it a shot.
Issaquah.
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 Yes. All right. That was close. That
That's
was
pretty
close.
good for a layperson. That's
Yeah.
not bad. Issaquah, Washington.
Nice job.
Some nice photos of the car on the water there. Let me
There's
go
no
through
water in Issaquah, by the way. I mean, there's a lake,
it's by
so
a
they
lake.
obviously
Yeah,
went
it's
down.
by a lake. It's a
I think they went down to
photos.
the Puget Sound somewhere and got some pictures of it. But anyways,
Okay, so what we're talking about is a 3.2 liter flat six married to a 915 transmission that is running through a Wevo shifter. It's got Recaro seats, a Momo steering wheel. The suspension system is all sourced by Elephant Racing. That's the good stuff. That's a premium that could have easily $10,000 to $20,000 in suspension from Safari alone. There's a really cool light bar that goes on and sits on the nose of the car, almost right across the crest, so that with those four lights, they all kind of run like in a straight line between the headlights. So you have 6 lights when you put the light bar on, a ducktail rear spoiler, and a roof rack. And what really gets me going, JP, is this Bastos livery. Now, it's interesting because You and I know somebody could do a livery for a couple $100. But when you put the livery on the car and you paint the wheels to match the livery, and it's all jacked up and it looks like a race car, you got something there. And I really think that the person who put this car together did a really good job. They didn't skimp on the components. About the only thing that I'm not noticing here is that there's nothing out of the ordinary on the motor. Now, if you're really going to take this car in the dirt, you don't need more power or more torque. But we certainly, you have always said this, and it bears out time and time again, that the motor will drive the value of the car. So if we're just talking about a livery and some accessories, should this car bring a premium over, say, another 1985, 175,000 mile 3.2 Carrera? um what are you ultimately paying for? Is it the lift kit? Because anybody can swap out suspension. So it'll be interesting to see where the value of this car lays when the hammer falls on this auction later this week. But as far as the eyeball test, I think this car's got it going on. I think the car looks great. It's got good components. It's got everything you'd want, and it looks like a car you truly could take at least on a dirt road. It might not go do a rally per se, but I would certainly feel comfortable if I was back at home in Las Vegas with my Der Fascination friends, and we went out to a dry lake, or we were hanging out with Rami and taking photos with Lee Pettit. I think this would be a great car to go get dirty out in the desert. I don't know how adept it is after that. Like if it would really go rock climbing and all that sort of thing, probably not. But anyway, John, I send it back to you. I'm high on this car. I wonder if you feel the same way. What do you like about it? What do you think is missing as far as like if you were gifted this car, what would you do to it? You know?
Boy, it sure is a looker, no doubt about that. I am concerned about the miles on this thing. I'm not seeing a mention of a recent rebuild or anything like that. So I'm, 175,000 miles on one of these engines is not the end of the world, if there's maintenance been done. And there's a bunch of receipts and stuff like that. So we got to dig through there and really see what the heck is going on. This livery really is awesome.
It is.
I bought I want to say an 81 SC years ago. I want to say it was like we're probably talking like 2010, maybe 11 or something like that. But it was a car that had been sitting under a tree in the desert, just kind of came across the thing, and took me about 6 months to get the owner to sell it to me. And my plan was to safari it. And that was before the safaris were kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the reason why I was thinking of doing that was because, the car was pretty beat up. I was like, well, I'm just going to take it out in the desert and beat the crap out of it anyway. And what inspired me to do that was this Bastos livery, this look, because I was looking around at the internet and I came across one of these and I was like, oh man, yeah, I'll just make it look something like that. And, ultimately I never got a chance to do the project because I realized, that's going to be a lot more work than I think. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at about $20,000 worth of equipment to raise the thing and the labor and all that kind of stuff. And then, a few $1,000 for a livery on a stock car. And then there you go. Is it worth the extra squeeze? Well, it depends on what the extra squeeze was. If this were if it were stock height, and it were an 85 Carrera with 175,000 miles with decent records and good maintenance, but maybe not a recent rebuild or a complete engine build, then I think this car would be probably worth somewhere in that 75,000 range. But with all this extra stuff, do you think it's going to bring more money, or do you think it's going to hold it back? What do you think is going to be the result of this?
John, I'm glad you spewed some numbers before I tell you. It's got 3 days to go as we're sitting here before it closes, and it's already at $91,100. Wow. Yeah, so it's showing well up front and early, which is not always the case on BAT. What's even more interesting is that $91,100 is on just 2 bids. So that second bidder is like almost going for a knockout punch. In other words, the first bid was $9,110, and the second bid was $91,000. I mean, Talk about a flex, $91,100. It's almost a knockout punch, right at right at the beginning, you know. So it's interesting to see where this car can go from here. I'd have to say, if I was the consigner, unless this car had already met my reserve, I wouldn't be too wild about somebody throwing a knockout punch so early in the auction. But if this car has already met reserve, which it may have, we don't know, then you're like, okay, well, let's see what happens at the end. So John, it's an interesting thing. So if this is, like you said, a $75,000 car, it's got $20,000 worth of work, then the value, according to your formula, would be right around where it's at in that $95,000 range. So I'm guessing you're going to come in just under 100 grand. I'm going to come in just over 100 grand, saying I like your formula, but the car is already done. And the same argument I'll throw back kind of in your face, where you said, why would you do the transmission swap on that E46 M3? Because you're going to have 3 to 6 months of downtime. Why wouldn't you pay a premium for this car so you can avoid the downtime of building the car yourself? And so that premium, I think, is going to come at a little cost. So I'll take the over at that 100 grand mark that I think you're going to flirt with. And I'm going to say that I think this car will bring $115,000. I'm going to go a little bit over that 100 grand because I just like the way it looks. I think they did a really good job with it for no other reason. There's no validity behind it other than somebody else might love it and throw themselves across the hood and pay a little more than they probably should. But hey, it's already done.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the records here, and it looks like the work was done by Cantrell, which has a very good reputation up there in the Seattle area. And it looks like they spent like $30,000 on this build. Which so they spent a lot, but I'm not seeing anything about
on the motor,
this dang engine. I mean, it looks like they spent another $5,000 on an alternator and some other maintenance and stuff like that. But when was the top end last done on this thing? When, this thing had to have been rebuilt at some point.
I will just quote our friend Paul Kramer from the Auto Kennel, and this is something he said to me in confidence. Or not in confidence, because he'll tell anybody these things, but the 84, 85, 86 Carrera, the 3.2s, were built with the best vendors that Porsche had at their disposal. And they were supposed to roll into the 964, and they didn't. That project got pushed back until 1989. So the 87s and 88s and 89 3.2s were built with different vendors because each year they had to buy cylinders from somebody else and connecting rods from somebody else. And he said that those 3.2s don't hold up as well. So if ever there was a 3.2 that you were going to stretch the life of it before you rebuild, if the car had been taken care of, and we don't know that on this car, those early 915 boxed 3.2s are supposedly the better of the breed. Of the 6 years they built it, those are the 3 years you'd want if you had a choice. And again, that's from Kramer's lips.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not worried about this car technically, mechanically, really. I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, even though there isn't, the one thing I know about Cantrell is if you brought this car in there, and it needs a top end, they'd be like, this car needs a top end, do it. So my guess is it doesn't need it. I'm not disparaging it in that way, but I think it does kind of affect the value because you're like,
I think it's fair.
30,000 miles, and now you're in 200,000 mile territory. Now that's really going to affect the value, especially if the engine hasn't been completely redone.
Make no mistake, John. I'm just defending my bid.
No, I hear you. And on top of that, it says that it's got the Classic Motorworks AC, which is great, except that it doesn't work. And that's a $10,000 unit. So what's going on there? I mean, there's some weird stuff going on, and up there in the Northwest, you don't really need it, but. If it comes down to California or Nevada or someplace, you're definitely going to want that to work. Okay, what was your bid? I'm sorry.
$115,000. It's sitting at 91,000, and we got 3 days to go.
Oh man, I'm going to play this close because I think there's a couple people that want it, but I just 115 is a really good bid. I'm going to go 110. I'm going to go 5,000 under you and just say it gets over 100, but not much. I mean, it's really. I mean. Yeah, with 3 days to go and it's already at 90 grand. That's nuts to me. That's nuts because we've seen some pretty spectacular failures on Safaris in the past on BAT. But the livery and the fact that this one's a coupe, and I think we've seen some Targas that didn't do well.
Before we go to commercial, as I mentioned earlier, the second bid was $91,000, which was an $89,000 or $79,000 premium over the first bid. Whatever it was. Anyways, my math is wrong. Anyways, it's at 91 grand. Do you think there's a chance it doesn't get another bid?
There is. Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to kind of do a knockout punch. Our good friend, Chef, just bought a 930 turbo on BAT, and he only learned about the car like the day before. So it wasn't like he was watching. And, we talk about these auctions all the time, but we don't really talk about strategy all that often. But when you're bidding, do you bid the minimum, because there is a minimum, there's always a minimum. It's like, 200 or $500 or something like that. Do you bid, do you just go way over the most, if you want to psych someone out, because it's very easy to just go up in small increments. So people will chase you. I'm another $200, another $500 or whatever. But if you go over someone by a couple of grand, even on a $50,000 car or $100,000 car, that's a flex. It's like you go, no, I'm in. I'm doing this. It's like a check raise or going all in poker and stuff like that. So it's the difference between, right? And I think that going that hard that early just makes anybody else that was thinking that they might be able to get in there in the 80s and maybe low 90s are just like, I'm not even bothering. This one's already higher than I wanted to be. Whereas if someone dipped their toe in at $80,000 and incrementally got it up another 10 grand, that can easily happen. Those people aren't even in the race now. They're out. So,
totally. Yeah. This bid really interests me because it could possibly not get another bid, and two, at $91,000, this car's probably really close to what BAT allowed the reserve to be. So he might be taking it home for this. It's a reserve auction, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. But yeah, I'm glad we picked this car, and man, it's a looker. God, John, that car looks
really
awesome.
Cool looking car. All right,
it's like my favorite Safari so far. I like this one
for sure. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and we will find out what happens with this Bastos clone right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. We talk about Luftgold a lot. We had Patrick Long on the show a couple episodes ago. I like to find, beef everywhere we can. It's just kind of like an old Wendy's commercial. And there's some ish going on right now because every time Luftgold comes up, it's kind of like the film festivals. What is it?
Yeah,
one in Park City, Sundance, and you got Slam Dance and all the other ones. Luftkult's kind of cultivated all these other events that happen around it, and then you get all these different bodies that are like, there's all this political posturing, everyone trying to like, oh, you come to our event, or no, you come to our event, and so this year it's no different, being in San Francisco. And all right, welcome to the future. If you could hear what we talk about in the commercials. Welcome back, everyone. We are happy to be in our respective studios. Man, I was there in San Francisco for Luftgold 9. Michael Deeb hosted all of us, all of our scene from the Las Vegas crew and people from all over. We all came to your restaurant and the pit stop performance, all the ancillary events that you made happen were great, including the drive that pretty much destroyed my car because you chose the bumpiest roads in Northern California. Other than that, everything was awesome.
Yeah, JP, we've got a lot of money in the state, but God forbid we spend it on the roads that the taxpayer uses. So, the roads are twisty, but they're not smooth. Man, everything was awesome. Shout out to Yuri for helping me host at the pit stop, and Rafi, thank you for letting us use the warehouse as a backdrop, and Shoddy and the two Franks and Maurizio made an appearance. So it was just great. We had all the kids. I want to just point out one quick little story. So we're at Luft and we're in the bar, and John Duckworth said, "Where's my swag? I've been watching and I'm here at Luft. I'm supposed to have swag." And I thought that was pretty funny that he quietly called us out at the bar in front of a bunch of people, a bunch of the nerd herd at Luftgold 9. Duckworth, man, points for that. You put us on the spot.
I
That was
will
pretty
tell
good.
him where the swag was. It was en route. It was in a mail truck
Yeah.
because it was sitting there yesterday. That is Monday, the day after Luft. So
Of
thanks a
course,
lot,
yeah.
Sticker Company. Last time we ordered them, they were there really quickly. But I will also say that you have a stack of them somewhere that you
I
lost
do.
or something.
I do. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's all your fault.
Missing in action from like Loop 7 or something.
Right.
Like, I've been holding stickers for a while and I can't find them. So I don't know. I hit them for myself and I did it really well.
Nice work. All right. Well, let's get to this car. Everyone's wondering what the results. So let's get to it. What happened with this pretty darn badass?
JP, I'm going to sound all Northwest on you. I'm talking
Uh-oh.
about this 911 Carrera Safari from the Qua, from Issaquah, Washington. Our 1985 car in that stunning Bastos livery. John, I felt pretty good about this car. I said $115,000. You took the under at 110, and I really think that somebody could fall in love with just the livery and overpay for this car. It wouldn't surprise me if this car went 125, 130, or whatever. Our car unfortunately failed to get where it needed to go. It stalled out, bid to $100,000. And let me give you that number one more time, John. $100,000 on just 7 bids. It failed to sell on 7 bids at 100 grand on BAT on Friday the 28th. Was it just that every cool Porsche guy in the country was out driving the roads in the Bay Area on Friday like we were, and just nobody was around to watch this thing close? Could that have been what happened? Or do you think it's just that a car like this is super niche and sometimes not every car finds a happy home? What do you think?
mean, it's a good question because, yeah, all Porsche eyes were on your hometown. We were all there. So who the heck was in front of their computer, because there were
the people from LA?
Yeah, that's true because there weren't very many people from LA at Luft. That's an interesting thing that I'm definitely going to be bringing up on the Dirt or Die Porsche podcast that we do weekly here in the studio.
I wish I could.
Well.
I wish I could join that one remotely. I'd love to sit in the room for that conversation. That's gonna be interesting.
Maybe we'll figure out if there's a way to do it. Yeah, because there was hardly anyone from LA, right?
Yeah. It was because it wasn't in LA.
Yeah. The people from LA just won't leave LA, and that's part of why I think they've gotten some pretty much bad press lately. Let's put it that way. But yeah, this car, I don't know, man. It's really a cool car. You got to wonder if is the Safari thing just dying out? Are people just not wanting to pay the extra money? Are people looking at stuff like this going, okay, how really actually usable is this? With the super clean, nice interiors, I'm going to take this car off road. I mean, I don't know, man. What do you guys think out there in the nerd herd? Is this something? Is the Safari thing over? What's up? Or is it just there wasn't a Luft bump, there was a Luft reject?
Yeah, so I think the Safari thing is alive and well. I mean, Porsche just dropped the Dakar this year and had one in the Rothmans livery up on rocks on Sunday for Air and Water. So
yeah, but how many of those did they actually make? Was there 10 or something like that?
I don't know, but somebody's paying a premium for that thing. That's for sure.
Well, somebody, but not many people. I mean, it's like a small handful of those cars. It's like when they brought the 935 back, the big, the Moby Dick car and everything. Like, they made 8 of them. I mean, it's like, this is just an exhibition thing.
I don't think that's a good argument because that car's cost prohibitive. If that car was the price of a Dakar, I think they would have sold 1,500 of them, but that car was like $1 million. So that's
how much is the Dakar?
And I think the Dakar, I mean, even if you pay a premium, let's just call it $200,000. I really don't know. I don't know enough
They're
about it.
Way more than $200,000. And the 935, they didn't only make 8 of them because they were so expensive. They were so expensive because they only made 8 of them.
Right. Well, and they're not even street legal. The 935. That's a car for the billionaire that has a place at Thermal or Spring Mountain or wherever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean you have to. Yeah, but that's the thing. I feel like this Safari thing, this Dakar car that Porsche's made is just purely exhibition. It's for a handful of collectors. Yes. No one's ever taking one of those off road.
True.
And I think they're crazy expensive.
Unless Rami bites one.
Yeah, right. I mean, but even he would be like, what are you talking about? That's stupid. He would just go I don't know. You get another G-Wagon and burn it down. I still like the idea of a Safari. We've seen a few of them pop up that weren't ridiculously overpriced.
Right.
What do you think the expectations of this seller were? Where do you think they were actually at?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you brought it up because this thing made it to $100,000 and still fell short. So like it didn't even come close enough to bridge the gap to an offer and sell. I'm guessing this guy probably wants a pretty high price for this car. I wouldn't be surprised if the reserve was at 125, 130, or even 150 for this car. And it's silly because again, there's nothing that special about it. It's a 175,000 mile 915 Carrera, like big deal. And it's got maybe $20,000 in options on it. So
yeah, this is not one of those crazy builds. I'm shocked that $100,000 didn't buy this thing. This guy,
so
just because it has cool stickers. Give me a break, guy.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was at 125, 130, which again was way over what you and I were thinking. So interesting, very, very interesting lot. I'm glad we watched it because it is a head scratcher.
Well, Deep, how much like an 85 Carrera with if this were just a regular car, if it didn't have the Safari stuff on it, and it had this many miles, but was in the same great condition, how much would just an 85 coupe go for, do you think?
$75,000 to $85,000, and it's a point you made. It's a point you made. You made this exact point before we went to commercial break, and you're saying so. If you just put the premium on top of what the car is worth, we were right in the neighborhood, and yet at $100,000, this thing wasn't even close enough to make a deal. So, I have a sneaky suspicion they wanted way too much, and it boggles the mind when BAT of all platforms allows the sellers, the consigners, grants them an unrealistic. What do you call it? Reserve.
So, yeah.
I don't know what
seems a little PCAR-y to me. All right, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Nerd Herd, we love you guys. Thanks for doing such a great job. We are so close to 1,000. Let's get there. Let's get over the top here because we're gonna do some things a little differently once we get there. I'm gonna bring this up now, and I'll bring this up in a bunch of future episodes here this week. When we get to 1,000 subscribers. We're going to start doing a once a week live show. And the big question that we need the Nerd Herd's help with would be which day and what time of day would you guys like to see a live show?
Good question.
Is this something that we should do Sunday night? Are you guys more likely to hang out with us on a live stream on a Sunday night? Or is this a Monday morning thing or a Monday evening thing? Or is it a middle of the week type of thing? Is it a Friday thing? Let us know what day you think would be optimal to where that you guys could hang out with us and live super chat type of thing with us. We want to start doing that kind of stuff more often. We used to do that right when we started. We had a lot more time back then, so we're willing to do a live show again weekly, as well as still the daily show. We're still going to do the daily show. But let us know what you guys think. Let us in the comments below, and we'll listen, and we will plan accordingly. All right, Michael Deeb, anything else?
Nope.
That's okay. I didn't want to.